refresh here.
Yes, no worries.
I'm just refreshing your page.
No worries. Anybody just watching this right this minute, we are just about to share all the good stuff. It's all good.
Okay. All right, I'm ready when you are.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to this very special edition of Just Joshing. I'm your host, Joshua Pantellaresco. I write stuff in podcasts, too. And apparently I illustrate and broadcast, and I'm secretly trying to take over the world and all that other wonderful fun stuff as well. And my guest, he is comic book creator, writer, novelist, illustrator, rock star, possibly and beyond his way to world domination farther than I am. He is A.P. Fuchs, and he's a friend of mine. I miss him very much. So, hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I miss you too. I haven't seen you around since 4 or 5 years back.
Yeah, since the writers' retreat, actually, it was last.
Yeah, that was that one. That was in 2016.
Yes, that was fun. Like the Winnipeg Writers Retreat. I went out there just to hang out with you guys. It was fun. I got to hang out with Chadwick was the Machine, right? You Mindy were hanging out. Christine was fun. You know,
Mindy was there.
Yeah, Mindy's awesome. I think she's great. I think she's a great writer. I actually really enjoyed her books. So.
Yeah, she's my favorite writer right now.
Yeah, she's your favorite writer right now.
Favorite writer right now, and I have to say that too because she's my girlfriend.
Yeah, I had a hunch I was going in that direction. I had a hunch. I watched you two together, and I was looking at that, and I was like, yeah, they could be a thing down the road, right? And well, hey, congrats to both of you. Tell Mindy I said hello. Yeah, she's probably your better half. I'll probably have to say that, but
definitely,
I'm sure she'll be cool with that. So yeah, so as you know, AP is an old friend of me. He's done a ton of books. I remember, let's see, I read Axiom Man. I actually read the original version of that, which is kind of fun. You did superhero books before it was cool, man. Like in terms of novels.
Yeah, when I did it Axiom Man came out in 2006. So when I did it, there was maybe like a half dozen superhero prose novels on the market, and now they're just everywhere.
Yeah, it's become. I actually think the novel industry is much more interesting than the comic industry of superheroes, and I say that as a comic nerd. I say that as a full-blown comic nerd. I still love superheroes and comics, but there's definitely more of a feeling of it's been done. Whereas with novels, you get like this really cool chance to do Act 1, 2, 3s, which is something North American comics don't do very much. Is that strong Act 3? So. You can do that in novels, and it's done very well.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. And you can get into the characters' heads a bit differently than you can with comics as well, and their perspective on things. Then you could drag out certain scenes, whereas in comics it's more go, go, go. In books, you could slow it down a little bit.
I find comics interesting. Like like comics is all about time. Like that's the thing about that's what the gutters are basically. The gutters are like a measurement of time. They're a measurement of like that one moment to the next, because that's the difference between a screenplay and a comic. Is a screenplay has this tendency to it's about motion. It's all about motion, moving forward, getting the story out, the script out, the show out, the movie, whatever the case may be. A comic is about those in between moments. You're right. You're using time as your mechanism in comics, and I thought you can go as big or as small or as any of those things accordingly. I think the real challenge with comics is when you do slow. Like when I think of a slow paced phenomenally well, not a superhero book, but something like Greg Thompson's Blankets. Very slow paced, very, very beautiful story. Right? It's basically a summer love story. And it's great. It's a really, really good story. It's beautiful, but it's slow. Superheroes has a tendency to go faster because again, if you're with DC, Marvel, you've got 24 pages to tell a story. Right. So like comics, like there is a lot, like all I'm basically trying to say is speed in comics is the mechanisms are gutters. Whereas a novel, the speed is literally how little, how many words you put in the moment. I find with prose, the more you describe a scene, the faster it actually is, and the less you say, the more time passes.
Yeah. No, I agree with that for sure.
Yeah. So let's see here. So how many books have you written now?
Oh, 40 something.
40 something books. So
yeah, all superhero and monsters. Those are my two main genres. I've done some nonfiction as well, but superheroes and monsters are my two main genres that I work in.
Are they really that different?
They really that different?
Are they really that different? Because they're both dealing with like the supernatural in just different ways.
Yeah, like I view monsters. I'm maybe in the minority on this one. I view monsters as supervillains, as opposed to scary horror monsters.
Okay.
You know, and where was I going with this? So in my mind, they're not that different to write the two because of that.
Okay.
So I write like in the superhero stuff, when I have a monster, that's the villain, that's the super villain, right? But if I write a monster story, that's kind of the angle I'm coming at them too, is they're kind of super villains as well.
So okay, so I'm gonna talk like a mainstream comic. Did you read Immortal Hulk?
No, I did not.
That book you should read. They took Hulk and made him an old school EC comic horror monster. It was awesome. It was awesome. Al Ewing's a great writer, but I mean, just looking at that issue, like that whole concept was amazing and scary and wonderful, and I didn't know I wanted Hulk to be that diabolical, but it was, and it was fantastic. Like it was just so much fun to read. It was so much fun to read. I think Monsters. So Monsters is about, like, I always kind of looked at Monsters as kind of like a transformation thing, right? The outer monster isn't as scary as the inner monster, and
Agreed.
I find like good horror focuses on inner demons quite a bit. Can you hear me?
Yeah, they do. They do.
Okay. So, do you agree? Disagree?
No, I would agree with that. The monster is sometimes within, as opposed to without.
So, why superheroes and monsters then?
I don't know. There's just something about the genre. The thing with the superhero genre is that it's every genre in one. You could do romance superheroes, you could do Western superheroes, you could do space cowboy superheroes. Pick your genre and you could do a superhero version of it. So it's every genre in one, basically. And then for the monster thing, I kind of got into that by accident, and so I was trying to emulate Stephen King at the time. And ever since then, though, I've fallen in love with them, and I think zombies are cool. I think werewolves are cool. I think vampires are cool. And when I write superhero stories that go up against these creatures, it's that going back to that supervillain thing.
Okay, so all right, so a couple thoughts. So you accidentally stumbled on the monster. So you wanted to be like describe your Stephen King phase. Let's start with that. Like, what do you mean by that?
When I decided to become a writer and I wanted to do horror, I didn't have any horror books at all. So the media machine, right? Like Stephen King, he's a bigwig in the industry. And so I bought a book by him. It was The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. That's what it was called.
Okay.
And then I've been reading him ever since because I like his stuff.
He's a good
I
writer.
haven't read all of it because clearly he's got a huge library. But
What's your favorites from him?
I love Bag of Bones, Dreamcatcher, and some of his Richard Bachman book, Long Walk. That's really good.
I love his shorts. Like for me, I like his like novella length stuff. That to me is his absolute best. Rita Hayworth in Shawshank Redemption's amazing. I love the Little Sisters of Illyria. It makes me smile to read that story. I love his Dark Tower stuff in particular is my favorite stuff of his. But I find like King technically is like he's incredibly clean. There's maybe a very small handful of writers that I can feel that about them is that like they're that clean, that precise, that technical, that prolific. I mean, maybe Brandon Sanderson, maybe Jonas Saul, but I mean, it's not a huge list of people that are as technically sound as he is.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Have you read his Shire's Heads North?
No, I haven't read that one yet.
It's in the Everything's Eventual collection.
Okay.
And it's the scariest story I've ever read. It was absolutely terrifying.
For me, the scariest story I ever read was Fahrenheit 451. That was for me the scariest story. Watching like talking about happiness and joy in a world that doesn't necessarily value those things really struck home, and that loss of reading and empathy terrified me. So that was the book that scared me. So why did that scare you so much?
He did the thing of like the main thing in horror that you can do is not show the monster, and you only allude to it, but you never show the monster. And in this one, he didn't show the monster, and this is the suspense he was building, the terror of the protagonist of what was happening. It was just mind-blowing. Like to this day, I have not revisited that story because I found it that scary.
It terrified you that much, huh? So was it was it just the build-up, or like what was it about that story that terrified you so much?
The most was the ending. The final scene, the final last couple paragraphs was one of those punch in the guts, heart-jolting moments when the monster was revealed right at the end. But you don't even, as a reader, even though the monster was revealed in the story, it wasn't revealed to the reader what it looks like, who it was precisely.
He just made the monster not absolute then. That's what he did. Like he made it, instead of making it, he made it so you imagine the monster.
Basically.
What did you imagine? Like
well, it hits on like it's a biker story, and this guy's getting trailed home following this biker. This biker guy is following him, and so I just imagined a biker guy, but just what was happening in the inner monster of that biker guy is what scared me.
Okay, that's interesting.
Pretty sure it's a biker guy. I read the story like at least 15 years ago, so it's a little bit hard to recall the specifics.
Oh wow, you like not that long. I man, when something hits you like that, man, I almost do want to go back, because I mean that's what we do as storytellers, is we try to create a feeling like that for our audience on some level. So if it did that to you, I'd almost want to go back and figure out how he did it.
So you want to look past the smoke and mirrors?
Oh, well, we're creators, right? I mean, on some level, every story has been told. I'm at that point now when I read a book or I read a story, I have a sense of where the story is going to go. There very, very rarely does that. I can be pleasantly surprised along the way. In fact, that's what I'm reading for, is those surprises. But the story beats don't change very much, right? What makes a story really interesting to me are three things: how compelling your characters are. Because if your characters are real, or they feel like someone you can relate to or have a connection with. It doesn't matter if I know where the story goes. And being predictable is not a terrible thing. Okay, speaking of Stephen King. So, guys, I'm spoiling a story that's like 20 years old. If you feel bad about that, I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. It's been 20 years. You should, if you wanted to read it, you could. The Dark Tower. I knew that it was going to go right back to the beginning. Just the way he wrote that story, I could tell that at the end of the story, I knew what the last line of that story was going to be. Probably around the 5th or 6th book. It was a 7-book series. And I knew what that last line in that story was going to be. But it didn't matter. Because, yeah, the man in the black fled into the desert and the gunslinger followed is both the beginning and the end of the story. But that whole journey to get to that circle was incredible. The last book made me cry. Like, it legitimately made me cry in some really, really good. There's like, when things start to go, like when the shit really starts to hit the fan, I'm weeping because I cared about all these characters I read along the whole journey. I knew how it ended. It doesn't matter that I know how it ends. You don't, like, that surprise is honestly the least interesting thing in telling a story. You, as a creator, you give that away. Every creator does it in their story, usually at the beginning of the story. Sometimes it's in other spots. The trick is, can you do it in a way that's fun? Can you do it in a way, like, I'll give you an example I use. The Matrix. Okay, movie The Matrix. So the Oracle looks at Neo and goes, Juma, and I'm gonna say, you're gonna say and you know what I'm gonna say. It says, this is interesting, but you're not the one. He goes, I'm sorry, kid, you have the gift, but it looks like you're waiting for something. What? The next life, maybe, who knows? Go to the end of the movie. He dies and comes back to life. Now the one, the next life. You tell your readers where the story is going to go, usually somewhere in your story. It doesn't matter. So that part isn't interesting. What matters, the true surprise in any story is how you get there. That's fun stuff. That's the stuff you can surprise the reader. That's the stuff where you can look and do, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you or I know the ending, right? It's how you tell that story to get to that ending. And even looking at the bones of the story, I can't tell a story like Stephen King. Not because I'm not, it's not even because I'm not at his level. That isn't it at all. I have my own voice. It's unique. I take tools from King and use them, but I can't tell his story his way. There are details he writes about that as a reader is cool. As a writer, I don't honestly give a shit about. Right? Because that's not how I would tell the story. You're the same way. I can't tell a story the way you do. That's what we all offer. So learning what you do to tell a story well is cool, right? But I might steal a trick from you here and there that will work for me. But I'm never going to copy you word for word verbatim because I can't. Why bother?
Yeah, why bother? No, I agree.
You agree?
Yeah.
You agree? You seem a little nervous, man.
It's been a long time since I've done an interview on camera thing, so I'm a little bit jittery.
What are you jittery about? I mean, it's just me, man. Like, look. I mean,
me and whoever else is watching this thing.
Look, I'm gonna give you a story. Just something to consider, okay? When I was 12 years old, I went up to the front of class in French class. I was wearing like a t-shirt and short shorts. Okay. I walk up to the class. I pass a pretty girl. Things stand to attention. Certain puberty happened, and literally, the whole crowd got to know exactly how I felt. It's just the way it was. I couldn't live that. I could not live that down. In fact, for years, I never lived that down. Right? And then I heard about it for years, but it taught me two very valuable lessons. And maybe this is something that you might want to consider, just because you are on air and you are on camera. And right, first and foremost, there are no mistakes on camera. And what I mean by that is, you gotta worry about being the best you can, and don't worry about what anybody else is going to think. You are AP Fuchs. You have done 40 books. You are an incredible creator. And that will come out the more you open yourself up to have a conversation, because that's what this is a conversation. And if someone doesn't like you, well, that's okay. I mean, that's not the audience you want. You want to find people like you. But you're only going to do that is you're going to say, hi, I'm AP. I'm awesome and possibly made of cheese. And that's and like, or whatever works for you. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You can't be afraid to make a mistake. You're going to make mistakes. That's life. Life's going to put you in a position where the trick is, can you roll with them? I mean, that's the thing, right?
To roll with them?
Just roll with your mistakes, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, it's and also it's me, dude. I'll make a bigger ass out of myself than you can. Don't worry about it. I do it all the time. They even gave me an award for it. I mean, seriously, right? So I mean, don't. Yeah, I got an Aurora for this, man. So I mean, it's not like I have the confidence to be yourself in front of people, and you will be very amazingly surprised at the response you'll get. That's what I've learned this. I've learned this as a creative, just from a marketing standpoint. You can't be afraid to put yourself out there, right? The worst that can happen is someone's going to say no. Yeah, put yourself out there and embrace the discomfort. Discover cool things about yourself, right? Because I mean, look here. I'll show you something cool. Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see it? So I tried to draw. This is an example of Lego drawing.
Nice.
Okay. See?
I see it.
Now it kind of looks like an evil clown. Yeah, you see him. It kind of looks like a borderline evil clown right now. But I'm working on it, and I've been drawing with like professionals and then completely out of my comfort zone. Because honestly, I'm not afraid to look bad. If you're not afraid to look bad, dude, nothing can stop you. Like nothing. You will succeed because you're you.
Yeah. All right. Point taken.
Yeah. Okay. Deep
Right.
breath. Deep breath. Okay. Okay. Good. So let's see. You've done 40 books.
Yeah.
40 different books.
Some of them are series and some of them are standalones.
Some of them are series, some of them are standalones. You've done 40.
Yeah, the Axeman Saga makes up 8 of them right now. There's more coming. And then some are trilogies. And then some are standalones.
So, okay. So let's see. So what was your first book? Let's start there. What was your first one?
Let's do that. My first book was called A Stranger Dead. And the premise was, if you knew who the Antichrist was as a child, would you kill him? Because you know the future atrocities that he's going to commit later on down the line. And so that was that story. That was my first book. Took me 11 months to write it. Technically 9 months. I had 2 months of writer's block, my first and only time of writer's block. And then, so I finished it off. And then that's how I got into self-publishing, was I ended up sending it over to a vanity press or a subsidy press. And at the time, I didn't know the industry at all. So I was happy to fork over a pile of cash for them to print up this book for me. But the irony was that throughout that process, I fell in love with the bookmaking process. And so I started self-publishing on my own way before it was cool. I started self-publishing in 2004.
Okay, so yeah, definitely. I did a book back in 2006. That was my first book. It's called I Am. It was a book of poetry, not like I did later on, but like it was how I got my feet wet. What'd you learn?
I learned that the industry is not how they portray it on TV.
Yes.
It's not at all. Like, very few people are in the boat where the publisher pays for everything and pays for people to come to your house, your editors, and that's like in the movie Stranger Than Fiction, like the Farrell movie. Like, publishers just don't work like that. And I've worked with publishers before. Like, I've worked with Simon and Schuster, for example. But anyway, what I learned was that it's a lot of work to get a book out there. I learned the proper way to do it through trial and error, the school of hard knocks. But I learned how to not only edit it myself, but also the importance of another editor, of getting an editor. So I wrote a second book called For the Cause, and that book was a sort of a sister novel to my first one. And I gave it over to an editor who absolutely destroyed it. When I got it back, the pages are coded in red, and to this day, the book was never published a lot. And that's one of the things I learned, is the value of a good editor.
Oh yeah.
And then
you edit it, make a book.
Yeah, for sure. And then I got into the other stuff, like the formatting and the cover design. And even the cover design, I had to get some help from a cover designer to show me how to do it.
So, leads to a couple other things done for me. So you done 40 bucks. Okay, you done 40 bucks. So book 1 to book 40. So what are the differences? I feel a voice changes after about 3 years. That's like I feel like your inner voice changes because at that point you evolve as a human being. Like, you've got enough experiences in life where things just you evolve. And that book you wrote 3 years ago, you can technically do it better, but your passion for it, I think, goes away, because it's not because it's not that the book, that you don't care about the book, but that particular person you were 3 years ago is not the same person you are now. So it's almost like it's almost easier to make a new book than revise an older book, for that reason. But
exactly.
what I was going to say, though, is you've done 40 bucks, which means, like, in your process, you've gone through literally of ups and downs in the industry. Did what you care about at the very beginning of your career, do you still care about that? Or has it changed completely? And what has it changed? What's the difference between then versus now?
At the beginning, I had the rose-colored glasses, stars in my eyes. The idea that you become a famous novelist just because I had this one book. You get your bunch of money and all that nonsense. And then to realize that work like that, I wasn't really disheartened. I was actually kind of comforted, because at the time my sales, so it just, knowing that the industry is actually a very difficult industry. But what I've learned since then, is how to tell a tighter story. I've learned how to do all my hard work instead of using a skeletal thing, and do all this, and then do the revisions and find from there.
Okay, so all right, let's try this another way. So that's the technical aspect of it. But personally,
Absolutely,
What do you say then versus now? Do some of those things still carry over, the things you cared about as a young man, right? Over wiser, possibly wiser man now? Are they the same things? Are they different things? Are there some things that are the same or some things that are different?
The only thing that's being a constant is just I just want to be read.
Okay.
And that's the one constant that's in there is just, like I told Mindy recently, I said, like if I was independently wealthy, I would give all my stuff away for free. So I just simply want to be read. But I can't afford to do that because this is my livelihood. So I have to charge people for my work.
That's not a bad thing, though, dude.
But
I think
the one carry over is just the desire to be read.
You kind of cut out there. Can you repeat that answer real quick?
I said that I'd over is be read. The constant is that I want to be read. Everything else has fallen by the wayside in terms of the fame and the glory and the money and all that stuff. I don't care about that stuff anymore. Right. I just want to be read. I want someone to look forward to my story, to read it, to enjoy it. And when you get a piece of fan mail or you get someone come up to you at Comic-Con and give you a compliment, right there, it makes it all worth it.
It does. No, it's awesome to get compliments. All right. So your aspirations is to be read. Okay. So let's go this way. Like, okay, for me, I'm looking at when I write my stories now, even though I'm still writing like about crazy stuff. Like right now I got a novel about killer cupcakes. There's literally a killer cupcake Frankensteining its way through and trying to kill everybody and kill us all. And I'm silly like that. I'm always going to have a little bit of that silliness because life has a certain absurdity that makes me just kind of I express a certain level of absurdity in my work. But also, I think about what I want to try to make my audience feel. And what I mean by that is I'm trying to elicit certain responses. For me, well, as you can tell, I'm very silly, so I try to make people laugh. But I also try to make people think. Because that's I'm a science fiction guy. Science fiction guys, I love the older school stuff of questioning how the world works. And when you take two good or two bad solutions, which is the right path, or which path your characters take and why, and can you make people think about the quality of life and how people live in doing so. And if I can make you laugh and cry and be angry and be joyful along the way, joy is hard. Joy is super, 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 super hard. But everything else, like, can I make you feel something, feel a connection to what I'm telling? I care about that more. As I've gotten older, I have found that has driven my stories, all of my stories. But no matter what medium, no matter what I do.
Is that a conscious effort on your part, or is that a subconscious thing?
Both. Because so Stephen King actually said this in one of his stuff, and a friend of mine said a similar thing. You want people to read your stories, you kind of want to take their soul. And what I mean by that is you want to make them want to continuously read your book. Because what we do, like the thing is, unlike any other form of art, if I look at the picture, like you saw my Lego, my beginnings of a Lego Paladin or Lego Clown or whatever that was, and the thing about that was, right, there's a joy in it, and because again, I do truly believe that the person on the inside is the person that comes out in your art, no matter what kind of genre, no matter what kind of story you tell. And
we're talking about voice.
Yeah, not just voice. Yeah, voice, tone, but the story, like even your whole approach to telling that story, and what you care about, right? And the emotions you kind of want to connect with your reader, because those are the things people don't necessarily remember. Lines like we talk about famous lines in movies, but nobody really remembers that. What people remember is what those lines made you feel, right? That's what people remember. So that should be the goal as a creative, right? What are you trying to make people feel? Like when I read your story, what do you hope people feel from it? Like what like were they thinking? Are they terrified? Are they and all of this stuff's important because
Yeah, it all depends on the scene you're writing, right? In terms of what you want them to feel. And I do it for myself. Like I write for me,
Mhm.
you know, and I try to make myself feel something because I know that there's someone else out there like me who will feel it too.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's how I know when I'm on the right track with something is if I feel something when I'm writing it, then I know that I'm definitely going to make someone feel something when they get the book eventually.
So what do you like to feel then? Like when you write, like what do you like in your story? Do you like being surprised? Do you like laughing? Do you like crying? Do you like tension? Do you like
I like I like all those things in general, but as a specific thing, I like creating a sense of intrigue and try to make it interesting. And by sense of intrigue, like I do a lot of cliffhangers in my books. Like every chapter ends on a cliffhanger, for example.
Interesting. So you've done radio, right? Like you've done like podcasts and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and just as a guest.
Just as a guest.
I never made my own.
Because that's
Yeah.
Oh,
I just went on as a guest.
Because that cliffhanger formula works great in podcasts. Because like I remember like back when I was a kid, I used to like the old radio shows. They would always leave things on a cliffhanger so that you'd have to find out what happened next the next day, right? And a good cliffhanger can be super fun if you do it right. But you've got to make sure the payoff's worth it when you finally get to the end.
Yeah, and I've learned that cliffhanger. Sorry, what was the question?
What I was saying is like what I was saying was in the event of a cliffhanger, in the event of the thing about cliffhangers is they're neat, provided there's a payoff, right? There's a satisfaction when you finally get to that payoff. No story truly ends, but there has to be a sense of closure in the story at some point. And if you don't have it, eventually people are going to be like, right? That's what like when you look at comics, right? When you look at North American comics in particular, that's sometimes the problem. They do a very strong act one, they have a very okay act two, and then because of the nature of that industry, the act three isn't always worth that payoff. When you get a comic that has a payoff from beginning to end, it's incredible. But they're very rare, and they're very rare in North America. Manga, you can get that a lot more. Like you get that in Act 1 and Act 2 and in Act 3. Everything just builds to that crescendo. And that's an amazing thing. So when you talk about building intrigue, do you have like an idea where the payoff is going to be? Like, do you know, like, do you go like, oh, this is going to be great when I get to this point? And you kind of like,
I do. Yeah, because I know like when I've learned to write with intention. So how do I phrase this? Learn to write with intention that each line that I write feeds the next line of the story. Everything serves the story. So when it comes to things like cliffhangers, it has to serve the story, whether it serves the story the next chapter or whether it serves the story, 3 or 4 chapters later. The main thing is serving the story. And that's one thing I've learned over the years, the value of that every line I write has to serve the story. If it doesn't serve the story, then it's not worth writing.
No, or I mean, we all have that clutter we have to get rid of, right? When we edit, and so do you are you one of those people that just cuts, or are you one of those people that kind of cut some things, add some things, cut some things, add some things? Like, how do you do it?
I seldom cut stuff from the story because I've learned to write fairly tight novels. So the first draft is already fairly tight. So when I do the second draft, that's when I go in and if I have to add extra material, And then the third draft, of course, is revising everything that I've done before then. And then it goes off to an editor for editing time. And then I get it back. And then I go through the edits and see if I agree with them or not. And see if I also pulled off my cliffhangers or not. Because if they left a comment, like good payoff or something like that,
Ah. So then on that note, let's think about this. Where do we want to go from here? So who's your team? Like, do you have the same group of editors, like that you've been editing the whole way, or has that evolved as your process has evolved?
It's evolved in the context of just who's available at the time and who I trust. So I used to have an editor for a lot of projects, and then he and I kind of sort of started to lose touch a bit, and then I ended up getting a new editor, and that's been my editor ever since.
Who's your editor now?
Right now is actually Christine.
Ah, she's a good editor.
Yeah, she knows what she's doing.
Yes.
And she's not afraid to tell me if I really botched it or not.
You got to do something here. Hi, soccer mom. It's been a while. I miss you. That was my nickname for her way back. Once upon a time we pitched doing a comic together. Now I still kind of want to do it. It was the idea of.
Well, I remember this soccer mom.
Yeah, you remember that? Right? Yeah, I still got that in the back of my head. So hopefully get the chance. Life's evolved. Like it's amazing. Everybody's kind of changed from where they were 5 years ago. I'm not like. The person I kind of missed the most from the group that I wish did more stuff was Andrew. I really liked his stuff, and I'm sad he had to stop, at least for the time being.
Yeah, well, he's slowly getting back into it now, from what I've been hearing.
Good, because I think he's a really good writer. Like especially his comics were good. There's definitely I think a market for it. So when you publish, so I asked this: do you crowdfund?
Me? No, not for my books. I plan on crowdfunding a comic down the line, but in terms of my books, I don't crowdfund it, and that's just purely a speed issue. I just don't want to take a month of doing a Kickstarter for a novel, and I could just finish it quickly, put it out there, and start reaping the benefits right away.
Okay.
And that's
So
how I've always done it. I've thought about crowdfunding a novel, but I never thought that people would actually want to put money towards that.
why not?
I don't know. Writers are a dime a dozen.
No, man. I don't agree with that one at all. I think honestly, storytelling in general has become a much more important part of our lives. I sat there and thought about just all the different things storytelling is in. It's in our news. Our news always brings up different narratives to engage the audience, no matter what your political association is. You have stories in sports. You have stories in this is a story. This is your story. You have so much content coming out on a regular basis that, frankly, even with all the content being coming out right now, I'm on Twitch, I'm on Facebook. There's still more demand for that content than there ever was. The challenge I think writers have to face and deal with today is there's so many different audiences out there. And as a businessman, and that's what you are, is a businessman, you have to make a decision of what is your niche. Like, for example, you're a superhero horror guy. That's awesome. Well, comics do fantastic on Kickstarter. They do, right?
So I plan on doing one down the line.
Yeah, but here's the thing about you, and this is just as a thought. And you do what you want because you got 40 books to my 5. So I'm certainly behind the 8 ball in terms of production when it comes to you. But one of the things I've realized as a businessman is that the biggest challenge a writer has, if they're really serious about making this their job, their livelihood, their passion, and that they want to be read, then a big part of our job is chasing an audience, finding that audience that will like who we are, whether that's Reddit or Kickstarter and there's so many different like little niches and audiences being served. I interviewed a guy yesterday, man. He's doing a comic right now about a clown, like an adult comic about clowns, and it's just like I never thought I'd see that, but there's an audience for that. He's doing these adult comics and he's serving a niche that's being underserved. You're doing superheroes, and there's guys like Russell Nolde who do novels all the time on Kickstarter. It's a different audience than what maybe you're reaching now, and you want to be read, right? So it would occur to me, like, if nothing else, taking one novel, and because I'm doing it, the next release I have, although I'll be doing it digitally on Amazon, the plan is 3 months after I release it digitally, it's going to Kickstarter. In fact, I'll be advertising the Kickstarter for it pretty much when it's released. And then I'm going to go on Kickstarter with a modest goal, and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, when the Kickstarter model, like another way to look at it is basically pre-orders.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's basically what Kickstarter is pre-orders. And so from that angle, I could see a book doing fairly well at. It's something I haven't given a lot of thought to, but you definitely got me thinking about it now.
Well, I'm just saying, like, this is your wheelhouse, man. Like, you're a superhero guy. Like, you've got how many superhero books? Like in your publishing empire?
About 8.
Okay, you got 8. So you have a proven track record of releasing books in a genre that's pretty strong out there independently. And so, I mean, you have the ability then as a human being to go, hey, listen, my name is AP, and I do superhero stuff as novels, and I want to do really, really cool things. You draw, you do cool, you write, you're passionate about the industry itself. I'm certain if you looked, you'd find an audience of people that'd be like, this dude's pretty awesome, because the dude is pretty awesome, and that's why I wanted you on the show. Because I mean, as nervous as you are when we started, right? There's a good dude that's very passionate about the craft he's making. That's the dude that should go out there and help you and let the world know that he exists, because that guy's amazing. And he's definitely not dime a dozen.
Well, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it.
Yeah. That's the truth, right? I mean, never ever sell yourself. I honestly truly believe that as a general rule of thumb, artists sell themselves short. Canadians especially sell themselves short, and that's a dude. You've done 40 books. There are career authors that haven't done even close to what you've done. You know what the heck you're doing. You're an expert at this. You're a badass. Go out there and just be that badass, man. Hey, man, I'm the legend in the industry. Heck, I remember Andrew called you that. Andrew called you a legend when we first met, right before I met you. That's how he described you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's how he described you, right? So you've made an impact already, man. So I mean, just
well, that's what it's all about.
Well, but you gotta own it, man. You gotta wear it. You gotta be like, puff it out. Be the like you, dude. You're the man, and be the man, right? Just be that guy that goes, hey, I can do this. Yeah, you know this too. I mean, rejection's part of what we do. You're gonna get your ass kicked going forward as well. That's life. I'm getting my ass kicked right now, but I'm enjoying the whole process. It's fun because I'm still here. I get to talk to amazing people, and tomorrow I get to repeat the process. Yeah. And more people will watch my show, and eventually I'll take over the world. It's going to be a beautiful thing, right? right? But
Yeah.
you gotta have that self-belief, man. Like, honestly, you've done an incredible job. You really have.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I got a smile, a genuine smile out of you. Right. So I gotta say, so is I'm also terrified to ask because I don't want Mindy to beat me. Does she like you better with the beard or without the beard?
She likes me better without the beard.
Go without the beard.
It's my winter beard. That's
yeah, but
no winter beard.
Your winter beard. It's your winter beard.
It gets shaved off when the spring starts, and it stays shaved until winter.
Okay, so it's a tradition for you then. The winter. So
Winter
why?
beard, and it does make your face warmer. You do notice a difference.
I just want to peg. Yeah, I can't completely fault your logic just based because I know that I lived in Calgary. It's not quite. You're the only place on earth that's colder than Calgary. You're like literally you're the only.
The weather is ridiculous here.
Yes. Oh, I know. I cried when I looked at I just look at your numbers. I used to work in -40 weather, right? So I was like, oh God, this is cold. Then I looked at your weather. Oh God, why?
Yeah.
Who came up with this? But here you are. I mean, so that's it. So the beard's completely forewarned. I imagine then little brandy every once in a while when you wake up in the morning or when you go to sleep, one or the other, just because you can feel it sometimes going outside. It's like, oh God.
What?
Okay, you faded out. So like a shot of brandy sometimes when you go out or when you're about to go to bed because of how cold it is.
Oh, Sean, who's Randy?
No, brandy.
Brandy. Oh, brandy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where you threw me off. I misunderstood. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No shot of brandy for me. I'm alcohol free.
You're alcohol free. Oh wow. So
Yeah.
you're tougher than I am. Okay.
Yeah, no, I used to have a problem.
Oh. Never
so
mind. I told you no. Just say no more. I get it.
Yeah. So the most I allow myself is one beer, and that's it.
That's good. No, I the general rule policy for me, even when I'm social, is one or two. That's it. Because you really don't need more than that. I like taking the edge off, and that's it. That's what it's there for. Anything else is excess.
Yeah.
But no, it's now, man. So you happier?
Oh, a lot happier.
Good.
Way happier. Yeah.
Yeah. You feel it. Yeah, yeah. No, like I said, it seems like whatever you've been through these last few years, although I imagine it's been bumpy at times, you're better coming out of it than when you were in it.
Oh, for sure. Well, I was ill for about a year and a half. I was sick.
Oh.
Without getting into specifics too
no,
much.
Yeah, no, that's your deal, man. We have to get personal.
Yeah. So I'm kind of making my way. So even with this creative industry, even doing interviews, I'm easing my way back into it. That's why I'm being a little bit awkward. Is just because I haven't done this stuff in a long time.
That's good.
You know.
Listen, thank you very much for being awkward with me. It's all good, man. I'm glad you trust me.
And I'm relearning the process of creating. I'm relearning the process of marketing. I'm relearning the process of everything because for the time that I was away, a lot of things changed within the industry.
Oh yeah. It's never ending.
So I'm kind of in a re-education stage, and also learning about myself in terms of my new working methods because I'm kind of doing a career switch where I'm not doing books as much. I'm doing comics now.
Why change?
I've always wanted to do comics. That was the whole point of my creative aspirations back in 2000. In the year 2000, well, sorry, go backwards even further. When I graduated, prior to that, I wanted to be a comic book artist. So I went to animation school, figuring if you could draw stuff in motion, you could draw it standing still. That school screwed us over in terms of education. They essentially stopped teaching us halfway through, and we just went to school and hung out, and that was it. And it soured me completely on the artistic side, like the drawing side of things. So that's how I got into writing books. I was still able to write scripts for guys in class, and they could draw them, and that's how I got into writing books. but I've always wanted to do comics, and I just never gave myself the time to do it. So now I kind of switched now to like more of a comic guy than a novelist guy. I still do novels, but comics are the focus.
Interesting. So, man, okay, so we got a lot of places we can go here. I'm going to ask this. I don't want to know the nature of your sickness. I don't like, that's your business.
Yeah.
You want it that way. I'm cool with that. I had something really unique afflict me a few years back. It wasn't for very long, but it was really interesting when you can literally watch things happening to your body that you have no control over. It's terrifying when you're in those moments, because you're trying to do everything you can think of to do what you can do, and it's not working no matter what you do. And you have this moment where you recognize that life is a very fragile thing. Like you recognize that moment. So when what's going on right now hit me, I looked at it like it. As strange as it might sound to some people listening or watching, I wasn't scared. Partly because of my own experiences already before. Number one, but number two, I've made peace with the fragility of life.
Right.
But because I've made my peace with it, it doesn't constrain me the same way, right? It actually, if anything, it freed me from things. And I know that's a weird thing for for some people to understand, but it kind of made me. I'm not saying bulletproof. It's my strength and my curse. Not much scares me, right? And that's my strength and weakness.
Right.
Right. I would literally. I might be able to walk. I'm the kind of guy that would run into a burning building to do something. I do have that in me. It might kill me, but it's there, and I recognize that that's a part of my makeup and nature. So I just don't fight it. So it doesn't hit me the same way. How about you? When this happened, because of what you went through, did it make you more cautious, or were you like me, kind of like not like the grand scheme of things, the world hasn't changed that much?
I would say more like you, where the world hasn't changed all that much, but my outlook on the world has changed. You know, in terms of the stuff I value, what I valued before being sick and what I value after being sick, those things have changed for me.
You're facing your mortality does that to you.
Yeah, well, I had a near-death experience as part of my illness, so yeah.
I had mine when I had my NDE at 25 or 20, 25, 20. I say 25. It's more like 26, 27. It was humbling. That was the thing. It was me. It was very humbling. It didn't hit me. It's really weird when you recognize how little control you have, but also, for me at least, I recognize the fact that that's okay. Like, it's okay that I'm not in control. It's more like, this is, in one very real sense, this is how it's supposed to be. I don't know. I was able to make my peace with it when I confronted it. Maybe I'm crazy.
I made my peace with it too. I remember that experience, and I made it. It was scary at the time, but I made my peace with it now.
So it doesn't rattle you the same way, which is
no. When it was happening, I was a little bit scared.
Oh yeah.
But then
look. No one wants to die. I don't want to die, right? Even now, I don't want to die. I'm peace with it. I'm going to do it one day, but I don't want to right now. I got things to do. That's. I think that's real, right? That fear is always going to be a little bit there.
Well, for sure. Sure.
I mean, I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy. But But no. Where do you want to? So you want to do comics? So I'm going to ask. If I'm now I want to go back to getting into comics with you, and that's this. What was so for me? I know the book that made me want to do comics. What was the book for you?
Oh boy. Nightwing. The starting in '95 run, the Chuck Dixon run.
Okay.
Chuck Dixon, Scott McDaniel.
That's a good run. That's a very good run, actually.
Yeah, those two guys did an amazing job, and I studied how to draw from Scott McDaniel at the time. I mean, how to do the narrative and all that stuff from Chuck Dixon again at the time. But that was the one where, yeah, the Nightwing series that they did was just dynamite, and that inspired me to draw and draw and draw and draw and draw and draw and draw. And then that went into the whole animation school thing again, and then I fell out of it. And now I'm getting my drawing skills back. I'm working on it, you know.
So do you want to? So I'm gonna ask this, and if the answer is no, it's cool. I will eventually get you to say yes to this somewhere down the road. You want to come back on the show and draw with me, like I've done with some of the other people I've drawn?
Sure.
Yeah.
So what is that? You draw, I draw, and we kind of show each other pictures.
Well, we'll do this. Like okay. So I've had some pretty big names come on and draw with me, which is cool. But I mean, and even smaller names. I'm trying to make it so that my show started as a Canadian show. Like I was interviewing a lot of different Canadians. It's evolved into what's evolved into. But when I started, it was for me to advertise the fact that there's some just amazingly talented people, and I've been wanting to do it. So finding an illustrators from Canada is something I kind of wanted to do. There are some illustrators I'm going to ask to come back on my show, like that I've worked with personally, but I don't want to just go to that well right away. I would love to meet new and different people. I've never worked with you, right? So the show basically goes like this. We talk like this, not quite as long as we're going now, probably about 20 minutes. Like, hey, how's the weather? And we talk about whatever the hell it is we talk about. And then you start drawing. We'll pick something to draw, and then we'll draw for a bit. And we'll still talk and shoot the breeze and open up to life, the universe, and everything. But we'll have fun. That's the whole point. Is we'll have fun.
That's right. Yeah, I'm down for that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Okay. So we'll talk off the air, and we'll set a date, and you can come back and we can rock it.
People could check out some comics of mine now if they want.
Absolutely. No, we'll get to that in just a second. I got one last question, and then we can do all the wonderful support and find AP Fuchs because he's awesome, right? And that is this. What's your favorite thing to draw?
Favorite thing to draw? Oh my gosh. Well, superheroes, naturally.
Anyone in particular?
Well, I have my own hero, Axiom Man. So I like drawing him a lot.
It's okay.
But in terms of specific body parts, if you want to talk about body parts, I enjoy drawing.
Whatever's your thing, man.
Yeah, I enjoy the torso part. Yeah, for some reason, I'm a torso guy when it comes to drawing.
So
for some reason, I don't know why, but it just is.
That's right. Okay. Fun stuff. So, dude, I miss you. I definitely, at some point this year or next year, definitely like to come back up there. Maybe at a convention. Do you guys have a convention anymore?
Well, not this year because of COVID.
Oh no! Obviously not. Yeah. But I mean, before
we did. Yeah. Well, Winnipeg Comic Con was supposed to do it. It was supposed to be their first year this year. Sorry, in 2019 was supposed to be their year. Start over. 2020. I forgot what year it was. 2020 was supposed to be their year, but because of COVID, they couldn't have the convention. So they're hoping that this year, around Halloween, they have their premiere show.
There's an even chance on that. There's an even chance on that one, actually.
Yeah.
I do think the lockdown aspect of this comes to an end this summer, one way or the other. I don't think it's going to last. That's my opinion, but we'll see. I get the feeling we've come to that point, but I do think, like conventions, they'll start to come back. I think at some point.
For sure.
Yeah, and when they do, I'll go back there like I did last time. Bring like a cloth and a bunch of books and see what happens. And you can come back and you can say this is your reemergence. So one last question then, and then we go. And then we get all the wonderful stuff out of the way. So you want to get into comics? You've done a lot of books. You want to be read. So, do you want to be remembered for everything you're doing? And if so, what do you want to be remembered for?
In terms of my work?
Yes, in terms of your work.
I want to be remembered for the Axiom Man saga. It's a planned 50-book series of 25 novels and 25 novellas. So I'm about a fifth of the way through the story. That's meant to be a life's work.
It's your magnum opus.
Yeah, and I want to be remembered for that, because once I finish that series, that's when I plan on sort of retiring from writing books and things like that. But I want to be remembered for the Axiom Man saga. I want to be known as the guy who wrote this epic superhero series.
That's ambitious. 50 books. That's very
ambitious. I already know how it's going to end, so I just got to get there.
Yeah. Well, that's and I mean you're almost a fifth of the way there. I mean, honestly, it's the same thing about it. So you're almost a fifth of the way through the process, that's pretty sweet, actually.
Yeah.
Good luck. Dude, I can barely imagine 4. I couldn't imagine. I have a 4-book series and a 5-book series in my head. And I've released 1. No, sorry, a 3, a 4, and a 5. 50, maybe someday if I'm cool. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, that's ambitious, and I mean that it's a compliment. It's an ambitious goal. I wish you the best. That's.
Yeah, I hope I make it.
Yeah, you'll be the Lulu
Make it happen.
Well, you'll be the Lulu Lamore of superheroes. Nothing wrong with that, man. That's a goal worth aspiring to. All right. This is the wonderful fun time where you get to promote anything and everything you like. Go for it. And where can people find you as well?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I do my main blog is at canisterx.com or apfuchs.ca. Both go to the same place. That's my main blog, my main hub. Right now, in terms of comics, I'm running a web comic called Fredricus, Fredrikus. Fredricus.com. It's a web comic. 17 episodes have been posted so far. Episode 18 is almost done. So people can go on the web at www.fredricus.com, check it out. And I have a YouTube station that I'm working on building. All this stuff is accessible at the main site at canisterx.com, and that's the best way to keep up with me. You could also sign up for my newsletter at tinyletter.com/apfuchs. And that goes out, well, it's on a bit of a break at the moment, but that normally goes out weekly.
Yep.
But the main thing is I would love for people to come by and check out my comics that I have right now on the web. And then the plan later is to crowdfund the comic into a collected edition.
Alrighty. Good luck. Honestly, good luck, my friend. I hope it all works out for you. Can't wait to see you in person again. And hopefully in the fall, Sans the Beer, because I really enjoy it. You have a very expressive face, I mean that in a good way. Like when you smile, you beam, and I love that. You show good emotion. So I think that's the thing I don't like about the beer. It's the only thing I don't like. I get it.
It hides it.
It's winter peg. I get it, but yeah, it's yeah. I mean, I can't wait. Yeah, miss you, buddy. I really do. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, this will do it for tonight's episode of Just Joshing. Stay tuned tomorrow for actually, do I have a guest tomorrow? Yes, I do. Stay tuned tomorrow for another exciting and wonderful guest. Can't wait for that. But if you want to support this podcast, you can do so a couple different ways. I am on YouTube as Joshua Pentelresco. You can subscribe to the channel if you want to right now. I'm on twitch.tv/JustJoshingPodcast. And my Patreon is also Just Joshing Podcast if you want to support it. Or heck, buy me a coffee. That just came up. That's literally just went up. Links will be in the descriptions below. If you want to support me, you can do so that way. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the darkness. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.